let's follow up with the times we're living in and how to manage the chaos, the perceived darkness that we see all around us. I don't know if we realize it or not, but we were kind of brought here and we were taught to be the same. You were in school as A, B, C, D, E, all the above. Remember that? There was no creative thought. It's like, how do you get to 9? Well, 5 plus 4. No, it's right now we're talking about 3, 3, and 3. Don't be doing the 5 and 4 thing, but we're all arriving at the same destination. We're doing different routes, maybe, but we're all taught, no, 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 this is the way to do it. Only this very narrow bandwidth of tolerance and the way of seeing things. And that's what causes a lot of strife. That's what causes us to see our differences. For example, my client today in my QHHT session, she was having a lot of difficulty and strife and struggle with the neighbors around her that were all completely politically different than her. And she found it very offensive and she found it very unsettling. And it was disturbing her quite a bit. She was looking for like a permission slip, right? Something just to poke her to get a little bit of like the little iron in your side that makes you take the next action. So sometimes the universe, sometimes your helpers, and she found out she had a lot of helpers, shows up so that you can take the action that you need to go to the place that you really want to be in. The other thing was, we talked about the opportunity of seeing everything as their own flavor. You're never going to change their flavor. That's going to be a very good, exhausting experience. So just know that maybe in another lifetime, they did this side. Now they want to try the other side. Who knows what their story is? It doesn't really matter to you. You're not going to change them. So why do you let it get to you, right? So you go do you, and you're going to just let them be them so you don't get disturbed. So you have a good time in the sense that you actually can be better. She was a healer. She could be a better healer, a better helper, but she's not feeling drained by looking at something that she feels is very damaging. So when we're all in that space now, and even she even said, my gosh, we're all the same underneath. And isn't that kind of funny when you think about it? If you had like five skeletons against the wall, you'd be like, okay, which one's the fat one? Which one's the skinny one? Which one's the brown one? Which one's the white one? Shut up. You would be able to tell. Sometimes you're not even be able to tell which one's the male and which one's the female sometimes. So, we're really looking at a very unique, our eyeballs that can only see a very fraction of 1% of the spectrum of light. We're walking around blind to the energy and everything that's really here. But we use our equipment, our eyeballs, right, to perceive the world. We're not really perceiving all of it. And we're sure not perceiving it in a way we think we're so independent, right? We think that we're got our own personality, we got our own way of perceiving things. And yet when we come to find out, oh my gosh, there's a subtle subconscious programming in there because, I don't know if you've heard this story about the scientists say that by the age of 7 years old, you've determined how to be in the world to be safe. And you could be an old person and die at 80 years old operating on that very program, because scientists basically have said, hey, just give me a kid till they're 7 and you can have them for the rest of their lives. Because unless you wake up and you ask the questions and you reprogram and you rewire, and you go to a higher level of consciousness, you're going to be that guy that say, you're completely determined by the age of 7 how you need to be safe in the world. And if you were abused, the world's not a safe place, and it never will be, unless you wake up to understanding there's another way to be. And that's really hard, isn't it? Because even with everything that's happened to us, what our parents did, what our teacher did, what our spouse did, we have so much evidence that we bring into our understanding. The brain goes, hey, look, the past, we have to study the past so it doesn't get the future. Actually, I think that's not true. Whatever you partner your energy with, you mirror to you. But what are we taught? We're taught everything. You got to come to find out, okay, like everything we were taught is upside down and backwards. And it's like, if you can win the game, go around the board, collect $200 if you figure that out. I think that's a really interesting thing, because you start to understand that, wait a minute, I thought the government was here to help. I thought, wait, I thought healthcare was about help people, not about profit. What? So you start to find stuff out like that when you start to challenge, when you start to really do the deep dives. So understand that you may not realize how we're walking around. We're all walking around. Lord knows I was 45 years old before I started asking these questions. So no judgment. If you wake up at all and start asking the questions, you've literally won. You've come up above the deep end of the pool. You're coming out and go, what? There's a surface. You've popped out. And there's no rush. There feels like a lot of people tell you there's a rush. You got to do it now. Pressure, pressure. But that doesn't feel very inspired or lovely. That feels like, oh no, I better run. That feels panicky. What does that feel? Fearful. Mm-hmm. Fearful, pressure, not doing it right. Right. And so you really, when you find yourself into that space, and I've been in that space recently, because I guess it's the time where everybody's visiting everybody. We got you got the relatives, and so you're balancing them things, and part of me was thinking, well, I can do this with this, and I thought, wait a minute, I can just not do anything because I got to be present, because it's the journey. It really is the journey, guys. It is the journey. It's not. There's so many of us that we don't realize we're like, we'll be happy when we get this, because we know once we get this money or once we get this job, then we'll relax. That doesn't happen, because you train yourself that once you held your breath and you get that job, and you might be present for a couple of days, maybe the weekend, but you're going to go right back to your habitual patterns in the way of being perceived in the world. And so it's very important to train yourself to be present. The power is in the now, because there's only now, and there's now again in a minute. If I meet you again tomorrow, it's going to be now again. Now is really where all your angels and guides meet you, because if you're constantly in the future or you're constantly in the past, how do your angels and helpers find you? What's so good about these sessions, these QHHT sessions, is that you get still, you get present. You don't just watch something on a movie like past lives. You drop in. You can feel what they feel. You can embody. My client today, she was embodying. She had a really good one. She was embodying a really good, helpful politician. I just have put that together. Politician back in the day that spoke his truth. That really, and she could feel the ripples of how she helped humanity as that guy, because of the way that she was able to speak her truth. And as a healer helper, sometimes we manage the room first. We don't speak our truth because we want to make sure everybody's not going to get triggered. Everybody's going to be good, and we don't ever rise to that. In fact, one of the best questions I think I've come up with lately, and let me ask this question to you: are you externally or internally oriented? Do you know what that means? It's like when you go into a room, do you take the temperature first and then act accordingly? Or do you just, wherever you go, there you are? Right? I know I was thinking that I was helping everybody else, including me, finding peace. If everybody else is happy and everybody else is soothed, then I'm at peace, right? As a healer helper, man, I could do that all day long. I got energy, I got access, so I can do that. But you know what happens when you do that? You never get bigger than the room. We're not here to play regular. Not the people watching these kind of videos, right? We're here to be our best selves. And this is the time where the energies are supporting us now. We're in the time where you can manifest whatever you think. You can manifest easier. The veil's never been thinner. So it's time for you to come to a place where you're no longer having to feel safe, that you go check the temperature of the room. You know what I tell my clients now? I'm like, do you know Maya Angelou? If you don't know Maya Angelou, you need to check her out, because she has the class and the embodiment and the wisdom and the grace of a master, of a woman who knows her wisdom. Her energy, if she walks into a room, her energy sets the tone. She's the metronome in the room, and she doesn't have to say anything. If somebody happened to act out in her space, she would just lean over, probably just go to bring it down, and she wouldn't have to say a word, and they would be like, oh yes ma'am. Because, you know why? Because she knows who she is. She doesn't apologize for herself. She doesn't have to shout to get her word across. Her presence alone changes the room. She is a healer by just being in the world. And we all are, to many degrees, to most degrees. And I want you to know that. Walk as your own Maya Angelou. Know that you don't have to, I don't want to say rescue, but I'm saying it's better. It's a choice. Let's not, I don't want to get comparisons. I want to say better. Maybe it's time to make a choice to not just be a healer for a person in the room and maybe even interfering with their journey. They came here to be wounded and figure it out, but maybe uplift the planet by uplifting you. If you've heard of Abraham Hicks, and I bet you have, Abraham Hicks says one person in alignment with themselves is more powerful than a million who isn't. What do you think she means by that, right? Or what do you think Abraham means by that? So this is really a permission slip, guys, to look for joy, to look for a good time, to look for fun, to be frisky. Tonight on the conversation with my client, it was like, you know what? Let's be fun, frisky, and fabulous. And she's like, oh my, and I said, we got to write a song. You can go to, what is it, Suno, SUNO.com. So go write your own song, just put some words in. It's like $9 a month, unlimited, make your own songs, and they're ridiculously like a radio station quality, not this AI robotic stuff. And so I did that. I put on all my passwords and make all these vibrational songs, and maybe I'll start tagging them onto the end of these videos so you can get a glimpse of them, because they are a blast. Guys, you can create your own joy. You can create your own playlist. Wherever you go, you can create things that make you feel good no matter where you are in the world. We all got a phone, right, pretty much. So there's no excuse not to put a little dazzle that's just specific to you into the world, into your ears, Sometimes we're in a place where it feels like we're in the ditch. And sometimes we're on the hill. It all happens to all of us. Life on earth is a little bit like this. But right now, it's important, especially right now, when the world feels more chaotic, for you to stabilize yourself. And what the heck? What if you're a real show off and you just want to be frisky, fun, and fabulous? I want you to try that. Let yourself relax, find some relief in all the times we're living in. Because you know what came up tonight with my client too was, what we're taught? When there's suffering in the world, we're taught to dampen our light. Hey now, don't you know people are suffering over there? You need keep it down now. Keep it down. Be respectful. We're taught to dim our light in front of darkness. We're taught to dim our light in front of shame. How about that? You think that's how it should be? That when there's darkness, we should dim our light? But that's what we've been taught, don't you know? Especially in those places. Absolutely not. You can tell it's a false belief. False belief. Don't be afraid. You don't have to be boisterous and loud. Have your own inner joy. It doesn't have to be exterior. Find your own comfort level. But don't let anybody take away your joy, especially if they're different, because they're not going to change. You be different. You go have a good time. You show how it's done. And just watch the universe and the world magnetically magnetize to you in a different way. A week later, days later, a month later, see where frisky, fun, and fabulous gets you. Okay?
I'm a mystic muse in my leather boots, breaking rules like I got no roots. Quantum leaps while the world stays slow. I don't ask how, I just let it flow. Spiritual gangster, hear me now. Collapse the time, I don't ask how. Frisky, fabulous, flying free. Feel the bass, it's the key. Spiritual gangster. Spiritual gangster. Echoes bounce in a 3D haze.